You can run, but you can't hide.
Yo, how y'all be? How y'all doing? Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Healing Exchange podcast. Y'all, this is the season 3 finale. Last episode of season 3. Now, funny thing is every season after season 1, after season 2, and to be honest, I said this a couple of days ago. I'm like, hey, look, I don't know if it's going to be another season. And then God be like, psych. And then here I go in another season. So, season finale of season 3. Now, y'all, I'm trying to get the try to figure out if I'm going to do 10 episodes per season or 12 episodes or 11. I've been ranging in that range of how many episodes per season. 10 weeks or 11 weeks or 12 weeks, which is a couple of months, 2-3 months at a time. I'm here and I take about 2 months or so off just to recalibrate, hear from God, see what he wants for season 4. Now you got some podcasters and I commend them. They go on and they just keep recording and recording and recording. I'm like, I can't do this. Some of them do it twice a week. I'm like, I can't do that. That's too much. I have to do mine per season. So have to do what's unique to me and what God tells me. And y'all, I got my shades on because these are my prescription shades. I promise you, I don't think I'm better than nobody. But I have my prescription shades on because I can't find my glasses. I don't know where they at. And those who know me, y'all know I can't see without my glasses. Like, I can't see. So I had to put on my prescription shades just so I can see a little bit. It's a little dark, but I can see, Because, honey, without my glasses, without Jesus and my glasses, I am nothing, okay? I can't even hear without my glasses. So that's why I got my shades on. And I just, got in from running a few errands. My eyes don't do well with so much light when I'm outside during the sun. So got to put my prescription shades on. But that's why I got them on the inside. Because I think they in the car. Anyway, welcome to the season finale. Y'all know how we do each season finale. What we do is recap the season, the current season and everything that we talked about. Boy, this season had some had some things going on. Had some really, really good episodes. All my episodes are good, but I talked about some deep topics this season, and I want to thank y'all for hanging with me, for staying in there with me, for coming to watching every episode, or even if you watch a few episodes, because I know with podcasts they can get a little long for some people in their schedule, and some people have kids and a family. So the fact that you tuned in to some of the episodes or every episode, to everyone that shared the episodes and listened in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, I appreciate y'all. I really do appreciate the support. I really do appreciate the support and the new connections that I receive, and the positive feedback, even the negative feedback, which it hasn't been a lot, just things I could do better. I really appreciate that. It shows you guys love me and that this podcast is having a positive impact. So thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I try to thank you as much as I can, because support and love is a big deal for me. So y'all love me a little bit. So recap season 1. Now the first episode we talked about new seasons and how seasons change in life. And you know what? After I recorded that episode, like the seasons changed for me with like some friendships. I'm still going through a transitional phase to where I'm getting new connections, new environments, even my mind, new thinking. My mind is just like elevating, and I'm seeing things a little differently. My perception is a little different. Even I noticed it because, I'm kind of sort of in and out on the dating scene. It's child. Anyway, I'm in and out of the dating scene, and just the things that I used to be attracted to in the opposite sex, it's not attractive anymore, because there were some toxic things I was attracted to, and some things that I was stuck on that kind of like hindered me from getting to know some nice guys. And even that perception has changed. Friendships, my taste buds when it comes to the type of people I want to be around, the type of environments I want to be around, down to what I watch on TV, y'all. The things that I take in, the things that I put into me, whether spiritual, physical, or, mental. Even with the food, God has been dealing with me with the food that I eat, how I need to watch what I eat, just to take care, because we need to take care of our bodies, especially as those that are just getting into their 30s like me. It's important to go to the doctor. For any age, it's important to go, but as you get older, it's really important to go to the doctor and take care of your body and listen to your body when it's telling you something is wrong. Exercising, I joined the new gym, got accountability in that area to where I have, this person, this mentor that mentors me and encourages me when it comes to working out and spiritually praying for me. So we talked about new seasons and seasons change and how you got to say goodbye. And I broke down each season and the reasons, the reason behind each season and why Earth needs every season, and how we should apply that to our own life. How some seasons we have winter seasons where it's dried up, but we need those dry seasons, because the next season after that, I got to pull up the notes, Lord. But basically each season is important, and it's in a specific order for a specific reason. So embrace all of your seasons. Those stormy seasons where it feels like you in the storm and something always going on. Those seasons where you feel like you're in a blessing season where people are constantly giving to you. Those seasons where you have to give and sacrifice. Those rainy seasons, those hot, intense seasons, like you have to embrace every single season because they all have a purpose and each season needs each other. So if we apply that to us, that means that we need to learn what we need to learn in the season that we're in, good or bad, so the season doesn't last longer than it should. Now we should allow it to last as long as it should. So we don't pray and ask God, please God, take me out of this storm, or please God, take this out of my life. Like, no, God, what is this teaching me? Help me to take in the lessons, and so that this season can last only as long as it should. Help me not to prolong it. Sometimes we prolong seasons because we're not getting the lessons he's trying to teach us, and he can't take you to the next if you're not getting these lessons at your current, or if you're not taking care of what he's giving you in this current season. So we talked about that. Then the second episode, we talked about a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. So in this episode, I talked about how basically we be dressed up like a dressed up, made up trash can. Like you see some people out, you might see the most beautiful woman or the most handsome man. They always got their outfit laid. She always got her makeup to top tier. Her hair always done, always popping. The man's always popping out, clothes fit, whatever. And on the outside, it appears that they're fine. It appears you don't see what's going on the inside of them in their heart until you sit and they open their mouth and you have a conversation. That's like, man, you are really nasty. Why are you so mean? Like, you were beautiful, you were handsome, and now you're ugly because you're rude and nasty and just standoffish. And, you really hear a person's heart. If you really listen and have a conversation with someone, you really hear their heart and where they are with their life. So you got a lot of people, and I was one. I was one of them. We walking around dressed up trash cans, dressed up trash cans, like just a whole bunch of junk and filth in our heart that some people refuse to, because stuff builds up and junk piles up in our hearts when we suppress and ignore stuff, and we think we all right, but on the outside looking in, people looking at you like, oh, you ain't all right, you're angry, ma'am, or you a little aggressive, sir, or your actions are speaking way louder than your words right now, so your actions and your words always speak for you. It always tells you where your heart is, so you got a lot of people that try to dress that over, hide it. They'll, great example, church. A lot of people, you see them. That's why God, I think it was Samuel, where they was choosing the next king. And, you got I think was it Joseph or David? No, it was David, I think. Anyway, it had all of these brothers lined up, and then the shepherd boy, he was stank, he was dirty on the outside, and people doubted him because of the outer appearance, because he was stank, because he was just out in the field tending the sheep, and because he was funky, the people didn't think he was the chosen one, and he ended up being God's chosen because of his heart. And in the scripture it says, God said, don't focus so much on the outer appearance. You focus mainly on the inner, the heart, I should say. So it's the heart that matters to me, not so much of the outer appearance of how they look. I don't care if they dressed up or dressed down, dirty, nasty on the outside. You may have one person that's not made up, they're natural, they may not have the best style, but that's God's chosen one. They have a good heart. And that's what radiates on the outside of them, your heart. Because even people that dress up got nasty heart, you automatically ugly now, So that's where we went with that one. And then, child, when I tell you, before I get to the third episode, we talked about the monster inside of me. Y'all, I had so much warfare with that episode, like before and after. Just studying and just listening for what God wanted me to say. And I basically talked about how, and I ain't going to give y'all all the sauce of each episode. If you missed a couple of them, you got to go watch the full thing. I talked about how we see the different powerful actors and producers and singers and rappers. We're seeing them in the media being exposed for doing some of the most vile things. And, you got one that's in the news media right now, P. Diddy and R. Kelly, and if you go further looking into like serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer or a Ted Bundy, all of those people that ended up doing those vile things, whether it was rape or pedophilia or necrophilia, drugging people, whatever the nasty things that they've done to others. If you sit and like research, and because all these documentaries be coming out once they get exposed, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be exposed. There are consequences to the actions that we do, and that just is what it is. So, but what I was saying was how we're quick to judge those and call those people monsters, but there is no huge difference with how they started in life and how we started. Where I talked about me, how I started. I'm like, most of those people started, you don't come out the womb wanting to hurt people. Hurt people literally hurt people, especially if they have not addressed that hurt and what happened to them, that trauma. It piles up and they become what they were hurt by. They become what they were traumatized by, So, all of those serial killers and those rapists and, like a P. Diddy and R. Kelly, they started off just like me. I noticed, I'm like, abandonment with their parents or because it starts small. The devil attacks us when we're little. Abandonment or rejection or rape or molestation. They were exposed to something early that they shouldn't have, abuse, and they just grow up without addressing those issues, and it comes out, and now they're hurting other people because of those unaddressed issues. So it's like, all right, yeah, they're being seen as a monster, but I could have easily became a P. Diddy or R. Kelly or Jeffrey Dahmer. Thank God for Jesus and Holy Spirit in my life. That's the most important thing. Who I submitted to is Holy Spirit, and I addressed my trauma. I went to therapy. And I'm still in therapy. I'm addressing those wounds so that my hurt doesn't hurt other people, intentional or unintentional. And I had a little bit of in my 20s where I was hurting other people because I was hurt, collateral damage to those people and causing them hurt that they got to address now. So it's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. But we all could have been a monster in somebody's story, or we all have been a monster in somebody's story. We just haven't been exposed. So again, I'm not saying those people are not supposed to accept those consequences, but what I'm saying is, those are some terrible things and they shouldn't have did that, but we should also take a look at ourselves and thank God that we're not being exposed, or our life is not thrown away because of the things we may have not been caught for. And child, what a warfare I dealt with after that show. And so, what number I'm on? 1, 2, 3, fourth episode. The fourth episode, we talked about, I done pulled it up. On the fourth episode, we talked about, basically it was titled, I Give Up, Quitting. So, y'all know something? I'm not a quitter, but I have moments to where I'm like, all right, God, I give up. It's too much. And God let me have my little moment. And then he be like, psych, all right, you cool? You let it out? You got your feelings? I need you to get back up and going back out there and and do what you need to do. Not that God don't care about our feelings, but we can't be dwelling in them feelings for too long. And quitting is not an option. We hear that a lot, but quitting is not an option. It's definitely not an option for me. And if I can't quit, you can't quit either. We have to learn how to take a break and rest instead of completely throwing in the towel. We have to learn how to just take a break, back away. Don't forget about you when you're out doing for others and going through different seasons. So learn to take a break, not quit. And then we went to the fifth episode. Now, the fifth episode, I had Miss Samantha McCarthy. She came on and we talked about divorce, and she has an amazing testimony about the things she went through during her divorce, how she was badly talked about within family, friends that she thought that she had, and people she ain't even know was talking about her amid her divorce. And I think she said she was married for 20 years, but that she explained the different things that she went through during the divorce and how she found true love within, while in marriage and going through her divorce, and that true love was Jesus. I admire her because she, in relationships too, but in marriages sometimes we like to do, or relationships, we be out here doing tit for tat. And she taught us that one big thing that I would never forget her saying is how God told her, you going tit for tat, but the seeds that you're throwing, you're reaping back. So even though he's hurting you and she was retaliating, God was like, those are still seeds that you're sowing that you're going to have to reap. So why throw seeds back at him? Why don't you sow better seeds into yourself? Don't respond. Don't retaliate it. Because at the end of the day, you are hurting yourself because you're the one reaping those words, those insults, even if the person threw the first insult. We don't throw insults back, or we don't do tit for tat. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And y'all already know my issue with revenge. But she explained it so well how stop going tit for tat with people in any capacity, because you're still sowing seeds into your life that you're going to have to reap. So we often, when we're in situations like that, is always about, I need to have the last word because I got to win. When nobody wins at the end of the day. The person who doesn't respond is the most powerful, or has the most power, because they're not responding, you know? So she went deep into that, and how she, instead of fighting back, she got on her knees and went deeper in prayer. She vowed to get up 5 a.m. every morning and pray, and God gave her a way out. She got a way out, and now I love her prayer life. I love her relationship with the Lord. She seems like she's more fulfilled now as a divorced woman. She knows that pain pushed her closer to Jesus, and now she has a really, really tight relationship with him. So that was a really good episode. It learned me something, as the old people would say, learned me something. And then I did a little small series called From the Street to the Pulpit. And part 1 was with Miss Latasha Bogan. And that episode was deep as all get out. That episode was so deep. She told her testimony of how she was on drugs, a drug addict. She was, prostituting, turning tricks, how her innocence was taken from her when she was, I think, 13 or 14, in the back of a car, dudes running a train on her. That's how her virginity was taken. And just out, she had her children. She was with a man that locked her in the house. And just how she found Jesus amid all of that. She told her testimony about how her sister gave her a Bible, and she cussed her sister out. But that Bible came back full circle, and she was reading it while she was out in the streets and out there on drugs, and started to get to know Holy Spirit while still out there in the streets. And he got a hold of her. He got a hold of her, and now she's evangelist Latasha Bogan, in the church, ministering, evangelizing, preaching, powerful, can pray, powerful sister of mine to be connected to, with a powerful testimony, man. And a lot of people were touched by that. Because usually when you're out there and you think you're out there too far, people think they're too far gone. And if you saw that episode and heard her testimony, you cannot think you too far gone. She is a perfect example to, you are never too far gone in whatever you're doing. If God is waking you up every day, you have a chance. I don't care what you're doing, where you're at, how deep you are out there, or how secluded or isolated you think you may be. You have a chance. You have a chance to redeem. She is a perfect example of that. So that was a great episode. Then I did part 2 with Eddie Acker, my brother, and he spoke about his life in the streets, how he had a gang, and how even in those streets, how he was getting signs that God was speaking to him, dreams, how God saved him from the streets, how he avoided death, how he witnessed his other friends and cousins witnessed death on the streets. He opened up for Lil Boosie because he was, that stuck with me. He opened up for Lil Boosie because he was also a rapper with a gang. I forgot what the gang was, but he was up there with Silver Star. Just popping pills, doing drugs, running the game, streets, guns, all of that. And how God yoked him up. He went to church one day, and God spoke to him, and he ain't been back to the streets since. And now he's Prophet Eddie, and now he can go back and get those from the streets. And he's very powerful, evangelizing, relating, very relatable. very not accessible, but very when he teaches and gives, because he have lives, and he's a minister at the church, Prophet Eddie, Pastor Eddie, and it's so crazy how I watch him get those and connect to those in the streets, because that was where he was at, and he's not the type to shun those, like, nah, I can't stand them type of people. How you get saved and just forget about everything you've been through and don't go back and get those, like how God came and got you. God don't save you and now you untouchable and you stay in the four walls of the church. No, you tell your testimony and compel others. Go make disciples. Go on out there. That's the Great Commission. Go on out there and help them like I helped you. Tell them about who saved you. Tell them about the miracle and how I brought you out of that life. Give them hope, and that's what he does. And I love that, man. And then we went on, I don't know what episode we on, but we went on to, let me see, episode 8. And we talked about the pain of waiting. The pain of waiting, featuring my brother, Mr. Isaiah Johnson. And that episode was really, 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 really good. Very insightful. And we talked about the loneliness and the waiting and singleness. And we didn't just keep it there, because singleness starts with you. It starts with you. And he told his testimony of previously being married and how he divorced, and then he talked about the roller coaster with his child's mother, pastoring, and how he stayed single throughout that whole season, and gave some nuggets on singleness and how to deal with loneliness, and how there's pain in waiting. The pain of waiting, the pain of looking in the mirror at yourself while you waiting, like, dang, I ain't where I'm supposed to be, or being forced to look at your flaws in the mirror, like, dang, and just waiting on God to heal you. That's a pain in waiting. Or like me, I know sometimes I'll be like, God, I'm so tired of being single. And then that's when he pull up that mirror, like, hey, we got to address this before I send somebody, because you going to mess up that man's life if you don't get this get this little thing together, So how we have to stay encouraged while waiting. So that was a really, really, really good episode as well. All these episodes was really good. Like, I appreciate every guest that came on, helped season 3 be as successful as it was, because y'all, they really helped me. And of course, your support and love really helped me as well. Like, I could never do this whole thing by myself, like, ever. And then, y'all, I did a Tough Conversations mini series, and y'all, this episode here meant so much to me. I had my biological mother sitting with me on this couch, and we were talking about things that at first I had no idea, because, me and my mother, we talked before. We had a few private conversations. So, and I prefaced that on that episode, like, hey, this is not something to where this is the first time me and her talking. It wasn't. But, yeah, she said some of those things that she told me in private, but I think it was her private pain, her trauma that I didn't know about, and I didn't know that she would say, because she was never always ready to tell her story and what would happen, because I never knew what happened to her. I never knew, and she shared it. So I'm sitting on the couch, like, I'm watching with y'all, I'm like, oh my God, so she caught me off guard a lot of times, but not in a bad way. But she came on this couch, y'all, and this show was the most highly rated show. Not that it discredits any of them, but I think this show showed that tough conversations are healthy. They are healthy. They are needed. We should not avoid tough conversations. And that's the message I was trying to get across, at the foundation. that tough conversations are needed. We need tough conversations. We shouldn't avoid them. And boy, was that a tough conversation. My mom, when I tell y'all, it was a breakthrough there for me, for us both. That was a perfect example of a healing exchange. I'm up here crying, and I'm like, Lord, I'm crying. I ended up apologizing to my mom because I had her all wrong. I had her all wrong. We go and whether it's your parents or whoever that you blame for your pain, like we be so stuck in the blame game to where we don't even try to get their side of the story. Now, I know everybody, it's not possible. Some people may have died before you were able to forgive them while they were alive or hear their story. And then some people, you have that person may be alive, but they're not ready to acknowledge what they've done or tell the story. So I know that everybody's case is not the same. Some cases are tougher, some are easier, some, whatever. So thank God I had a mom. My mother was willing, because it wasn't always like that. She wasn't always willing, and she never acknowledged until, a year or two ago. And with some things, it may just take time. It took time for me and my mother. It didn't happen right away. Sometimes you gotta give that other person time to grow and time for God to prick their heart. I had to give time for God to prick my mother's heart and take a hold of her and be like, hey, you know what? I'm dealing with you, but now it's time to take responsibility. And God's been really dealing with my mother. So I did not expect all of that came out on that show to be like that. I promise I didn't. I thought we were just going to be talking about our pain and what we went through as mother and daughter. But she went into her trauma and told me her side of the story. And what I learned was, it's like, as I was thinking, because I had to process a lot. After that episode, I was dealing with some anger. I was dealing with some guilt. It's almost like I was grieving. Like I was grieving the old relationship I had with her. Wow. I was grieving that old connection. But I was going through guilt, anger, acceptance, all of those grieving stages. Being angry at different people, wanting to point the blame. I felt like some family members were lying to me. Like, because y'all told me she was never there. That's the notion I went on. She was never there. And the voices that told me that were the loudest voices. I was young, so I believed it. And God had to convict me and say, hey, they didn't lie to you. That was their reality. In their mind and in their perception, from their perception, she wasn't there. That's how they perceived it. And they stepped in and took care of you and all of that. And maybe isolated you a little bit more from your mother because she wasn't at that time that was trying to protect me. So I had to realize, like, no, they didn't lie. They just were protecting me, granted unhealthy, in an unhealthy way. And that was their perception of it. Nobody ever badmouthed me about my mom or anything like that, but their perception of it paired with what I was seeing from the outside looking in from what my mom was doing without knowing her story, it was like, oh man, she's not there. Then, so I'm sitting down, the little girl in me and the adult me crying. We both crying. Like, after I heard my mom's life and what it was like in her eyes and in her perception, she went through a lot. Now, I found out why she was gone on weekends. I found out how we were when I was a baby. I found out a lot about her pain and her whys. You have to find out people's whys. People don't wake up and just mean to hurt you. Not everybody, I should say. There's most of the time, there's a reason why people do what they do or act how they act. They got unresolved pain. And I saw my mom's unresolved pain unravel and her resolving it by just telling it. She was saying things that none of my family knew. And afterwards, like, people, I appreciate y'all for, everybody that watched that episode. Y'all reached out to my mom and showed her mad love and mad support. I really do appreciate that. And it pushed her and motivated her to do better, even better, because she's already been doing better, but do even better. So, man, that show was crazy. That show was but it was life-changing for me. Took me on a whole nother pivot. It changed, like I was telling you in the first episode, this season, it was a transition now. Now it's like, I think differently about my mother now, and it kind of veered my mind into another direction. So it's kind of like I'm getting to know this better version of me, this version of me that has a new perception, that sees things differently, that now my mommy wound is healing and sealing up. And now the things that I used to want, I don't want anymore, because I resolved this wound that I had in my heart. Now I don't want that no more. Pain is usually why we want the toxic things or the people that we want, or like the things that we like, because of what we went through. We talked about that with the pain of waiting. Addressing your preferences, addressing why you like what you like. It's usually due to a wound or what you were exposed to as a child. So my taste buds changing, child, and me and my mom have a better understanding. We can build from there. Not no unrealistic expectations, but now I can love her better. Now she can love me better. Even my dad called me and was like, I need to be on your podcast and tell my side of the story. But he was doing it in a joking way and saying how the episode made him emotional because, he was they was saying that they weren't there. And I had to apologize to him too. Like, Dad, I'm sorry. I had you wrong. And my mom spoke well of him and how he was there. So it brought healing all around. Now my daddy wound is healing. Like, my mommy wound was deeper than my daddy wound, but now that's sealing up. Now I definitely got a different caliber and taste for men, in a positive way. I don't want what I used to want. And I don't hate men. I had a strong dislike, as I was going to therapy and stuff. Now it's sealed up. Now I can look at things kind of like in a neutral perspective, like neutrally. Like, it almost feels like my mind and stuff is back at a neutral level, back at zero, to where now I can add on things that are positive. Now I'm back at the finish line of my innocence, and now I can add up and go back and learn things positive and do things differently. That's the best way I can explain it. And then I had a tough conversation with the little girl, me, and we all need to do that. Like, I truly believe everybody has a little person in them. Some people are healthier than others. Some people are sicker than others as far as like mental health. Because we all were dealt a different hand in life, We were all not dealt the same hand. So just addressing it and nurturing that little person within you. Because I have a lot of moments where I want to throw a whole temper tantrum. Like, I don't want to do it no more. I want to be a baby. Like, the little girl is upset. Now I learned how to settle myself, settle my soul, pray, talk to God, and nurture that little girl within me. So she's not acting out so much, So I'm not, because sometimes I can respond from the little girl Jaquilla and not the adult Jaquilla. And it's unhealthy. It pushes people away. You can lose people. You can lose connections, And I had to learn to center myself and talk to myself. And think, like really think before I think and feel my feelings, So, and here we are at the last episode of season 3. Y'all, I really appreciate everything. I'm going to put my social medias and everything up. You could reach out to me even via email. Healing Exchange has an email. I don't know from the top of my head, but it's gonna be on the screen somewhere. On the screen, on the screen. You can email me, DM me. If you haven't, follow the page Healing_Exchange on Instagram. You can add me, follow me on Facebook, Jaquilla McFarley. TikTok at Jaquilla MC. Reach out to me. Give me your thoughts, your feedback. Let me know what you want to see in season 4. Because at this point, I already know it's going to be a season 4. So let me know what you want to hear. Give me some guest recommendations. Of course, God is going to be pouring into me as well about who I should, bring on, or what he wants me to say, how season 4 is going to go. It might be 10, 11, 12 episodes. I think this is the 11th episode for this season. So, and it keeps getting better. It gets better and better every season. And I appreciate every guest, every supporter, every commenter, every person that liked and shared it, the reels, the YouTube videos, the audio. I appreciate y'all so much, man. You have no idea. And pray for me as I take this little break. Pray for me. Pray that God pours into me personally. Pray that God helps me in my transitional season. Pray my strength. I need strength. Pray my strength in him. And I'm going to see y'all in season 4. Cheers to season 3. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing me this far, for bringing this show this far. And y'all stay up, stay positive. Don't let my podcast be the end. Stay up on positivity. Pour into yourself. Listen to positive podcasters or YouTubers. And you can rewatch some of these episodes. I got 30 plus episodes, from season 1 all the way up to season 3. So rewatch it. Hit me up. I ain't disappearing. Y'all gonna see me if you follow me. I'll be on social media here and there. And look out for the announcement for season 4. And I love y'all so much. I'ma see y'all.